But relationships are not based on merit. You can't achieve your way into emotional safety. Welcome to Life and Love by Design. I'm life and relationship coach Odette Coronel. This podcast is for individuals and couples who are done living on autopilot, who are ready to understand the patterns shaping their relationships, their choices, and their sense of self, and redesign them with purpose and intention. Here, we don't just talk about what's hard. We name what's actually happening beneath it and what to do about it. And if you start recognizing yourself or your relationship in these conversations, know that this is the exact work that I do with my private coaching clients, individuals and couples who are ready for real change. Because a meaningful life and connected relationships don't happen by default. They're designed. So let's begin. Welcome back to Life and Love by Design. I'm your host, life and relationship coach Odette Coronel, and today's conversation is about one of those things that women think about privately all the time, especially high-functioning, successful women. And I'm just going to get right into it. So we know that Shakira was cheated on, Beyoncé was cheated on, Halle Berry, Khloe Kardashian, Eva Longoria. Megan Thee Stallion has been publicly speaking about the betrayal and pain and emotional hurt that she's experienced. And, every time another successful, beautiful, accomplished woman experiences heartbreak publicly, then other women everywhere start asking themselves, if they got cheated on, what hope is there for the rest of us? Because these women are obviously very talented, they're beautiful, they're powerful, they're intelligent, they're financially successful. So it really forces people to confront a very painful question. Why do high achieving women seem to attract disloyal men? And today I want to unpack this conversation in a deeper and more emotionally intelligent way because I actually think most people are asking the wrong question. And, I want to say this from the very beginning. A man's disloyalty is not proof that a woman lacked beauty or worth or intelligence or success or femininity or value or anything like that. Cheating is rarely about the woman. It's not about her not being enough. It's actually usually about the other person, so the cheater, lacking emotional maturity or emotional capacity, or maybe they lack integrity or they lack self awareness. It has nothing to do with the high achieving woman. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions that women unconsciously carry is, if I become enough, then I will finally be chosen. Or if I'm beautiful enough, or successful enough, or accomplished enough, or supportive enough, loving enough, then I'll finally experience the secure love that I want. But relationships are not based on merit. You can't achieve your way into emotional safety. And this can be devastating for high achieving women because achievement has probably worked for them everywhere else in their lives. So if you work harder, then you get results. If you become more skilled, then you gain more success. Or if you stay disciplined, you're going to create more opportunities. But unfortunately, love doesn't work like that. Relationships are not built solely on your value. They're built on the emotional health and integrity of both people that are involved in the relationship. Now, let's talk about something deeper. High achieving women are usually emotionally intelligent, they're nurturing, they're resilient, they're capable, they're incredibly giving. And emotionally immature men, they're often very attracted to women like this. Why? Because emotionally mature women create emotional safety. They're understanding, they're patient, they're supportive, they're accommodating, they're emotionally attuned. And that's all great. But here's the problem. Emotionally mature women can accidentally overfunction in their relationships. So what that looks like is, they may excuse red flags or they may over explain or rationalize bad behavior, or maybe they become overly understanding or they stay hopeful. They see the potential in their partner rather than really looking at their patterns. And emotionally immature men often thrive in relationships where the women are the ones that are actually carrying the emotional labor. If you're doing all the right things, you're showing up, you're holding it together, you're being capable and responsible, and yet something in your life and relationships or your marriage still feels off, then give me a few seconds of your time because this message is for you. Relationships don't usually fall apart because of one big event. More often, it's the small everyday moments when we stop being intentional, or we stop really listening, or we stop choosing connection. Those are the things that create distance over time. I work with thoughtful, high functioning individuals and couples who aren't broken, but they're feeling disconnected or misaligned or just wondering how they got here. In my coaching, we slow things down. We try to understand what's happening beneath the surface. We identify the patterns that are shaping your relationships and your choices, and then we intentionally design what comes next. So if you're listening and you're thinking, this feels like me, that's not an accident. I offer a complimentary relationship and life alignment audit. It's a focused 45-minute conversation where I'm going to help you gain clarity and identify what comes next. You can book your session by visiting odettecornell.com. I would love to connect with you. And it's really sad because I think that women often assume that cheating means, that he didn't love her enough. But usually infidelity has not so much to do with love, but more to do with, the man's need for validation, or it's about his ego or his need for something new, or maybe he's just really emotionally immature or impulsive, or maybe he's got some kind of unresolved wounds. Some men cheat not because their partner lacks something, but because they themselves are internally disconnected or they need constant validation. Attention is what regulates their self worth. Novelty becomes an escape, and desire can be confused with emotional fulfillment. And no woman, no matter how extraordinary she is, can heal someone's lack of character. Listen, a woman can be exceptional and still be betrayed by someone who lacks integrity. I also think that women experience a very specific type of relationship exhaustion that people don't really talk about enough. They're used to carrying a lot, whether it's their careers, their families, in their friendships, in their businesses. So sometimes without even noticing it, they become the caretakers in the relationship too. They become the planner, the fixer, the communicator, the one that's processing their emotions in the relationship, stabilizing everything. And then over time, that creates an imbalance. Because again, many high achieving women have learned, if I work harder, maybe I can save the relationship too. But relationships cannot thrive when one person is the only one carrying the emotional load or the emotional maturity for two people. And I think that the reason that celebrity betrayals affect women so deeply is because they confront a fear that many women already carry. And that is, will I ever truly be enough in order to keep someone loyal? And I want every woman listening to hear this. Loyalty is not something you earn through perfection. A loyal partner is not loyal because a woman is flawless. They're loyal because they're loyal. They're loyal because they value integrity. They value honesty. They value emotional responsibility. Betrayal says far more about the betrayer than about the person that they're betraying. It has to do with their character. I think that many successful women, they don't need to become less intimidating or less powerful or less successful in order to experience healthy love. What they do need is emotionally safe partnership. They need reciprocity. They need emotional maturity, consistency, accountability, emotional availability, and nervous system safety. They need relationships where they don't have to shrink or overperform or overgive or overfunction in order to feel chosen. The goal is not to be impressive enough in order to avoid betrayal. The goal is actually just to choose someone with the emotional capacity and the shared values and the integrity for real partnership. And honestly, I think women are finally beginning to wake up to the fact that being chosen is not the ultimate achievement. Being emotionally safe and emotionally met and emotionally valued and respected, it matters so much more. It's not just about being chosen, it's about you choosing as well. Because chemistry without integrity is only going to create chaos. And attraction without emotional maturity is only going to bring you pain. So if you've ever looked at a powerful, beautiful, successful woman being betrayed and thought, how can this happen to her? I hope this episode reminds you that someone else's inability to love well is never proof that a woman was unworthy. You cannot outperform someone else's unresolved wounds or someone else's lack of integrity. You cannot overachieve your way in order to guarantee loyalty. And you are not responsible for carrying the emotional underdevelopment of another person. Healthy love isn't built on proving your worth endlessly. It's actually built on emotional responsibility, on integrity, on honesty, on shared values. And remember, rather than prioritizing being chosen, choose wisely because that's the most important decision that you're ever going to make. So if this episode resonated with you, please make sure that you subscribe to the podcast and share the episode with another woman who needs this reminder today. And if you are navigating relationship patterns or emotional exhaustion or heartbreak or learning how to create healthier relationships and healthier love dynamics, I'd love to support you. You can book a complimentary consultation through a link in the show notes. And until next time, remember that your life and your love are yours to design. If today's episode described you or your relationship, then this is your moment. You don't need more information. You need a new way of living, choosing, and relating. And that's the work I do with individuals and couples. If you're ready to stop repeating the same patterns and start designing your life and relationships intentionally, visit the link in the show notes and book a complimentary relationship and life audit. Remember, your life and your love are yours to design.